Hello, I'm Andrea Gunner. I'm the Green Party candidate for this riding. I would like to acknowledge that I am on the unceded territory of the Secwepemc, although where I live, it's unceded territory of both the Secwepemc and the Syilx people. The reason that I decided to throw my hat in the ring for the Green Party is that as a farmer and an agricultural economist, I am freaked about climate change. We're 30 years too late, but I have hope because of what I've been seeing in the agriculture industry, as well as the forestry industry and other areas. And I believe that the Green Party has the best policies, not only to combat and address climate change, but also to protect our communities, that the growing divisiveness and the wide-ranging and ever-increasing gap of income is definitely a problem. The fact that 47 of the richest Canadians are $78 billion richer as a result of this global pandemic, things aren't right. We can't keep doing the same old things and expecting different outcomes. And if nothing else, a warmer, drier world that's giving us unprecedented heat domes, unprecedented drought, an unprecedented global pandemic. Mother Nature is pissed, and we have to address that in a different way than we have been doing. My background is both a farmer and an agricultural economist. I work with farmers throughout BC, and I've seen some really hopeful, really positive changes for not only reducing our carbon emissions, but drawing down carbon and sequestering it in the soil and in our forests. If you dream of a better future, vote Gunner on September 20th. Thank you.
Okay, we'll go to the questions that were presented to all of the candidates. So the first question, with so many Canadians receiving CRB and employers struggling to keep staff, how will your party help small business recover from the impacts of the pandemic by getting Canadians back to work?
Small business is the backbone of the Canadian economy. The diversity, the creativity, the ingenuity, the ability of small business owners to marshal resources and bring new ideas and just get her done is inspiring. And the pandemic has been really hard on people, for sure. The bigger problem that we have is we have an aging population. The median age here in Sicamous is 57 years. And as Terry Lake, our former Minister of Health here in BC, admitted on CBC Radio today, we have not done enough to support our healthcare industry. And we really, really need workers. Canada is a country of immigrants. We need sound immigration policies. We also need to change the models. We need to change the way we're thinking and the way that we're doing things. We can't keep doing the same old things, the same old ways, and expecting a different result. One of the things that we can do is changing our education system. In other countries, they have school apprenticeship programs where students can choose a course of action in high school. We do have apprenticeship programs in BC and in Canada, but we don't support them the way they really need to be supported. Another idea that other countries have used is if you are a small business owner in Germany, for example, one of the leading economies of the world, and you rent a space to start your new business in, within a week, government extension workers come to find out what you have and what resources you need, and then they help you get those resources. We need that kind of system in Canada. Small business needs our help. The Green Party has a different way of choosing how to do things. Again, I'd really appreciate a vote for Gunner on September 20th.
Okay, the second question. The housing market market is out of control and rental housing is almost non-existent. This affects the workforce. No housing, no workforce. No workforce, no business. What measures will your party put in place to create a more realistic housing market for first-time home buyers in our riding? And do you have plans to assist with providing affordable rental housing projects for young families and seniors?
There are affordable housing options that already have a track record, a proven track record in BC, in Canada, and elsewhere. Cooperative housing, co-housing, Abbeyfield housing, dignity villages, and agrihoods, just to name a few. Locally, collaboration is needed by not only community groups, but all levels of government. In recent time, there are new housing, low-cost housing options available in Salmon Arm, in Armstrong, and in Vernon. These have been partnerships between BC Housing, the Canadian Housing and Mortgage Corporation, the Canadian Mental Health, the Okanagan Indian Band, the City of Vernon, just to name a few. They've all worked together to address the most serious housing issues and shortfalls. With the recognition that housing unaffordability and homelessness are linked national crises, there are a few options that the Green Party would bring in. So, number one, strengthen the regulations for foreign investment in residential real estate. Create an empty home tax for both foreign and corporate residential property owners of vacant buildings and units. We really need to monitor and evaluate the successes and shortcomings of the Canadian Housing Benefit Program, and we need to adjust it according to the community needs. We really need to prioritize funding for nonprofit and cooperative housing, because if we can help the lowest percentile in our communities, that helps all of us. So we can directly help the very poor. We need to reform our zoning. We need to have intelligent design that puts housing and healthcare and food within a very short distance so that we're not driving as much as we have been driving. We need to do things like allow churches and other groups to add below market housing to their land. And we need residential infill zones, just to name a few. These are some of the ideas from the Green Party. One of the things that I really like is I am a voracious reader and have friends in other countries and get to hear what their ideas are too, what's working for them. That's something that, as your MP, I would bring my network to the table to work for you. Thank you.
Okay, the last of the three questions. The vaccine passport has caused much upheaval in our province. Many all-candidate forums have been cancelled due to the conflict over this program and the threat of violence. Although it is a provincial initiative, it is affecting all BCers, and with more provinces implementing the passport, it will soon be an issue for our entire country. What do you believe needs to happen to ease the conflict?
I understand that lots of people feel scared and overwhelmed and helpless. The reality is that the world is in the fourth wave of a global pandemic with a rapidly mutating virus. More than half the countries in the world have already implemented mandatory vaccine passports. And we know that our area, our tourism, our arts, our healthcare sector, our business community are suffering. They really need our support, especially the healthcare, which is already stretched beyond. If you pay attention to the news right now, the healthcare workers are really, really stretched. It already takes more than 50% of the provincial government budget, and we know that past governments should have done more, because we know that we're aging. We've got this aging demographic, and in order to take care of them, we need to take care of each other. We need to look after each other so that our healthcare system can cope with the demands placed upon it. Thank you.
That's the last of the preset questions.
Yeah, now the fun
fun
part
to
starts.
The ones that we've chosen out of the draw. So, here's our first one.
Okay.
Canada has opened its borders to the U.S., yet the U.S. is not letting Canadians cross into their country. How is that impacting on our relationship with the U.S., and how would you ensure the borders get open to Canadians wanting to go back down to the United States?
I love this question. So I'm sure everybody knows that the Canada-US relationship has been an interesting one over the years, likened to a mouse and an elephant. From my perspective, I prefer to think of the relationship between a mosquito and any warm-blooded mammal, because mosquitoes, as we all know, especially here in Sicamous, can be very insistent and very irritating. As Canadians, we are far too polite. They get the benefit of our water and our power. We don't use that as leverage. We consistently get pushed around in trade negotiating tables. This last one with them not opening the border, even though our vaccination rates are higher, our health outcomes are better, it's just small-minded. So we can take the high road and go along with it, or we could actually fight back and be insistent in ways that are creative and ingenious, as Canadians are known for. So I don't have a complete plan for that, but I do know that creativity and persistence, no matter how much money you have, no matter how much power you have, a mosquito can still be very irritating. Thank you.
Question number 2. We're hearing that people are not planning to vote because they have lost confidence in the government. How do you plan to boost confidence in politics in our riding?
Thank you for this question. I understand that people have lost faith in government because honestly, politicians promise, and then look at the trail of broken promises when they're actually in power. So there's a whole litany of things. I don't need to bore you or spend your time in cataloging them all. I think the big problem is that what we really need is participatory democracy. And voting for a representative once every 2 or once every 4 years isn't really participatory democracy. But we can't have that until we have social equality, until we reduce the gap between the rich and the poor, and the people who are finding that they have more month at the end of their money, that they can actually cope, that is been addressed through affordable housing, through guaranteed livable income, through all those things will reduce the gap in our society, increasing education, all of those things. We need a different system. The system that we have with first past the post is not serving us well. When you look at the countries in the world that have the highest per capita health, well-being, income, standard of living, all of those are countries that have either coalition or minority governments. Those countries, just for your reference, are Finland, Denmark, Iceland, all northern countries like us, as well as Switzerland and the Netherlands. And here in Sicamous, throughout the rest of the riding, there are people from those areas of the world that know that there is a better system, a better way of bringing all the best and brightest minds to the table to focus on what the issues are and find creative solutions that serve the communities, not the corporate interests. Thank you.
Last question. We must not forget the horrors the Indigenous population has endured in residential schools, as we all are witness to the pain and suffering inflicted on these people and the hundreds of burial sites identified throughout the country What does your party plan to do to help the healing process?
This is a travesty of justice that has gone on far too long. The fact that our current government still is paying government lawyers to fight the victims of the school system against the Canadian Human Rights Tribunal, which has been held up by every layer of court justice system in our country, is just wrong. For myself, the fact that there are children being taken, apprehended from Spelmsheen, from Splatsheen, from Nisconlith, and Adams Lake Bands every week is wrong. Not just the 215 bodies that were found in the unmarked burial site in Kamloops, but the children that are being apprehended today, the families that are being torn apart. But there is a gleam of hope, because the province of Manitoba, about 4 or 5 years ago, did a pilot program where instead of apprehending children, they sent resources into the communities to work with the communities, to work with the families. And the outcomes have been that they have better health and well-being for those families. The children are staying in school, and the costs of that program are declining. The number of children that are in care, off reserve care, is declining. It's a win-win situation. I don't know why we're not doing that all across Canada. There are creative solutions. The other thing that personally is a big problem is the fact that there are still 50 long-term boil water advisories. And in a country as rich and resource plentiful as Canada is, that needs to be fixed. Everybody should have access to clean water. And we need to change our regulations, change the systems, and bring some of that creativity and ingenuity into place as quickly as possible. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes all questions.
Yay.